Morning, lovely and beautiful people. Good morning, good morning. We'll go ahead and get started today. I think what I'll do is I'll just read you this introduction. I had a bit of a schedule change, so I think all I'll have time for is just this introduction from the Holy Koran by Drew Ali. And from there, we're going to go ahead and get into Psalms, but I may give you guys a little bit of a break before we do, or maybe I'll come on and start the book before lunch. It's going to be rapidly paced. Psalms, just as Job was, we'll get through a lot of different chapters due to the way that it's paced and set up. But before we do, let's go ahead and this really early and beginning journey of Jesus. A lot of this is not talked about in the gospel because this is really before Jesus was established as, really we can just say, as an adult. So this is often what he had gotten himself into as a child, as a young man, which it makes it really interesting, I would say. Things that we have not heard before or anything like that. This title, though, is a little bit misleading, because we have here, starting out, lives and works of Jesus in India among the Muslims. So we're using this word Muslims, but you can ask any Google search engine or any search engine, any AI, and most things will tell you that Muslims did not exist, or there was no such thing as a Muslim before the time of Jesus, because Prophet Muhammad and Islam itself as a religion came much later. And this is true, but there also are like two main groups that we could consider to be Muslims without having the true religion of Islam established. Just to start out, we have the people like Prophet Abraham, right, who was in a family of polytheists, and he was not Jewish either, because Judaism did not exist at the time of Prophet Abraham. Judaism came around during the time of Moses, who really did write the Torah, right, the first 5 books, and instilled those pillars of Judaism, if you will. So around the time of Abraham worshipped a God. He knew a God. He was familiar with the one true God. So we could call him a Muslim without even having any religion to work around Abraham's calling or his choice. So we can call Abraham a Muslim. So there are those who were Muslims, right, but did not, obviously did not classify themselves with the folds of Judaism because it didn't exist. And we know that Abraham was not a polytheist. And then we also have those that were polytheists, much like the people of Moab, Ham, Canaan, who were polytheists, but after the terror had struck them and they were driven out of the land that they once called home, which was the land of Canaan, they did actually move into different regions and became Muslims after their experience. Again, you can Google it anywhere. It will tell you that Islam did not exist in the sense that Prophet Muhammad did not come about and start the fold of Islam until much later. But the word is still used when we're looking in retrospect, because there's something that I looked up too, because we're talking about India, and we know Hinduism is the primary religion, especially at this time there. And with Hinduism, this was a very, very old religion. Even before Hinduism itself, we started out with the Vedas, which was a divinely inscribed text. And then we also have something called the Law of Manu, if I'm saying it right. The Laws of Manu, or also known as the Manusmriti, which was compiled by somebody who, it was not necessarily divinely inspired, but it was something to set up really the pillars of Hinduism as well, as far as the caste system, and much like the Quran, giving divine instructions or instructions on the way marriage should be, the way family should be, kind of like the societal structures of Hinduism. So we have Hinduism existing, okay, in the land of India. As we remember, coming from Noah, we had the three brothers separating and spreading their lineages all across the world. So as well as Hinduism existing, we also have Buddhism existing at this time. Again, at this time of Jesus, Judaism was very well spread and prosperous as well. But thinking again back to that time of Abraham, it was not a thing. But Hinduism, Vedas, really like the Vedic study, they call these individuals Brahmins, right? They were very, very prosperous in India. And again, the title is a little bit misleading because we're talking about these Brahmins or these studiers of the Vedas in India. And we guess we can say maybe after coming in contact with Jesus and getting to know the Lord and getting to know God, they maybe became Muslims in a sense that they were in agreement with him at this young age, that they presented himself, that Jesus presented himself. But something too, I was looking because I was still confused about the Muslim classification. But it does say here, the industrious acts of the Muslims of Northwest and Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, the Hamathites, the Canaanites, who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. Later years, they formed kingdoms. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. So that is also another classification of who they are calling Muslims. But again, it can all be connected. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and begin Life and Works of Jesus in India among the Muslims. I'm just going to go ahead and read right through it, given the time, as always. Alright, a royal prince of India, Ravanna, in the south, was met at the Jewish feast. Ravanna was a man of wealth. He was just, and with a band of Brahmic priests, sought wisdom in the West. When Jesus stood among the Jewish priests and read and spoke, Ravanna heard and was amazed. And when he asked who Jesus was, from whence he came, and what he was, Chief Hillel said, "We call this the day star from on high, for he has come to bring men a light of life, to lighten up the way of men and redeem his people from Israel." And Hillel told Ravanna all about the child, about the prophecies concerning him, about the wonders of the night when he was born, about that visit of the Magian priest, about the way in which he was protected from the wrath of evil men, about his flight to Egypt land, and now he then was serving with his father as a carpenter in Nazareth. Ravanna was entranced and asked to know the way to Nazareth, that he might go and honor such a one as the Son of Allah. And with his gorgeous train he journeyed and came to Nazareth of Galilee. He found the object of his search engaged in building a dwelling for the sons of men. And when he first saw Jesus, he was climbing up a 12-step ladder, and he carried in his hands a compass, a square, and an axe. Ravanna said, "All hail, most favored Son of Heaven." And at the inn, Ravanna made a feast for all the people of the town, and Jesus and his parents were the honored guests. For certain days, Ravanna was a guest in Joseph's home on Merriman Way. He sought to learn the secret of the wisdom of the Son, but it was all too great for him. Then he asked that he might be the patron of the child, might take him to the east where he could learn the wisdom of the Brahms. And Jesus longed to go, that he might learn, and after many days his parents gave consent. Then with a proud heart, Ravanna with his train began the journey towards the rising sun, and after many days they crossed the journey toward the rising sun. And after many days they crossed the journey toward the rising sun. And after many days they crossed the sand and reached the provinces of Orissa and the palace of the prince. The Brahmic priests were glad to welcome home the prince. With favor they received the Jewish boy. And Jesus was accepted as a pupil in the temple of Jagannath, and there he learned the Vedas and the Manic Law. So it's called Manic Law in this, but I'm like, that doesn't sound right, but it's coming from the laws of Manu, also known as the Manusmriti. Then it says, the Brahmic masters wondered at the clear conceptions of the child, and often were amazed when he explained to them the meaning of the law. Alright, so this is wonderful. We have John's expedition that he takes as a young age to learn the rite of cleansing, to really learn the rite of baptism. And now Jesus is not shying away, nor are his parents shying away from getting a very broad and expanded type of education, right? I doubt Mary and Joseph were very familiar with like the Vedas and really the study of those texts as a religion. Obviously they were Jewish, that's all they knew. But it shows here that Jesus himself was quite familiar with the laws, he was quite familiar with the Vedas, and he was able to access this broad-minded education at a very, very young age, and he understood it, and he was able to communicate it. So that was a beautiful thing. And I think that's a very unique part that, of course, is left out of the Old Testament. But Jesus, as a young age, we can probably assume he was much older than 12 at this time, but I would say, young teens or teenage years, he actually spent a good deal of time in India educating himself on the Vedas. It makes me very curious to learn more about that side of it for sure. So very, very interesting, and that's why we are always taught to respect, there's never one right and there's never one wrong, okay? Everybody should be included in this journey that we call life, and we should have a very broad mindset when it comes to learning about divine knowledge, because it can come from all places. It doesn't have to come from one source. Yes, it can get a little bit confusing, but if you have the overall mindset and you're doing your best to connect the dots, things will become very, very clear and very easy for you. So very interesting. I really do enjoy this little section. That's all I'm going to offer you guys today, and like I said, I might be back on later to discuss Psalms with you. These are going to be the Psalms of David, and again, very poetic and I would say pretty uplifting, but also these are written for music, right? They're written to be accompanied with music, so it's a little bit different, but people really do like the Psalms, as do I. So I will go ahead and pause. I hope you guys have a wonderful, beautiful rest of your week, and I'll see you soon.